A sweet listener recently sent me a message that said, I want to create peace and order in my home, but I feel like I'm doing a terrible job. Maybe that has been recently your thoughts too. You look around and see laundry waiting to be folded, dishes in the sink, toys on the floor, and a never ending list of things that still needs to be done. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, you start believing if I could just get my house in order, then I'll finally feel peaceful. But what if we've been looking at it the wrong way? What if peace doesn't come after order? What if order actually begins with peace? And that is exactly what I want to talk to you about in this episode for today. Welcome to our Peaceful Heart podcast. I am Julie, a wife and mom who have had my fair share of emotional, overwhelmed moments in my home, feeling anxious, tired, and sometimes just irritable. But once I started seeking God constantly in the overwhelm, I began to experience unshakable peace. And that's what this podcast is about. Learning to surrender our thoughts, our emotions, our overwhelm in everyday moments to God so we can walk in the peace He promises to those who seek Him. So grab something warm to sip on, settle in your favorite spot, and let's lean into Jesus and learn to walk in His peace right in your home, starting from this episode. One thing that I've noticed is that when we stand in the middle of a messy home, we don't just see one thing. We see everything. The laundry, the dishes, even the paint that's coming off the wall, the cupboards that needs organizing, the meal that still has to be cooked. Our mind doesn't just look at one task. It doesn't focus on only one thing. It looks at all of the tasks at once. And that is usually the moment we become overwhelmed. When our brains try to think of 20 different responsibilities at the same time, we instantly feel overwhelmed. And I want to remind you of this little truth. Your home, and I'm going to try to say it very gently, your home, meaning your home atmosphere, the systems in your home, the way you run your home, it did not become chaotic or overwhelming overnight. And when you start to realize that you kind of want to change it because you feel overwhelmed, that bringing peace and order in your home also won't happen overnight either. Our homes and home systems slowly becomes disorganized. Overwhelm slowly builds through weeks, months, and sometimes even years of carrying too much or even changing too little and not adapting to new seasons of life. So don't expect yourself to overthrow the overwhelm and undo everything in one afternoon. That expectation alone creates more overwhelm. So have grace towards yourself and know that when you bring peace and order back into your home, it's going to be a process. So let me ask you this question. Where do you find peace? Peace is found in Jesus. When we spend time with Jesus and live a life surrendered to Him, His peace begins overflowing into every other area of our lives, including our homes. Have you ever walked into someone's house that wasn't perfect? Maybe there were toys laying around or dishes in the sink, but somehow the home still felt peaceful. And when you walked away, you didn't think about the clutter. You walked away remembering the atmosphere. So before asking, how do I organize my home? Maybe the better question is, how is my heart doing? Am I spending time with the Lord? Am I giving my worries to Him? Am I living a life surrendered to Him? Because order that starts with striving never lasts, but order that starts with Jesus will change everything. Now, the question becomes, how do we start with Jesus apart from spending time with Him? And I'm going to tell you what it looks like for me. But before I do, I want to invite you to my free workshop that will help you move from a place of overwhelm to peace. If you've been finding yourself stuck in cycles of emotional overwhelm where the littlest thing can trigger you to become annoyed, or you constantly feel frustrated with your family or with their habits, then I would love if you could join my free workshop. I walk you through the mindset shifts and practical steps that has helped me stop living in a constant overwhelm and frustration and start living in the peace that Jesus gives to those who seek him. The link is in the show notes of this episode, or you can go to www.elevatedwife.com. I truly hope to see you there. So, back to order in our homes. It starts with Jesus. Proverbs 16 verse 3. Commit your works to the Lord, and your thoughts will be established. Now, I absolutely love the phrase establish my thoughts. When I looked up the word establish, one definition was to bring into being. So, how I interpret the verse is if I commit my plans that I have to Jesus, he will bring thoughts into being so that the things that I have planned will work out better. I will have better ideas about the things that I need to do or about the systems I have in my home. So, in short, I believe if I commit my work to the Lord, he will give me the ideas that I need to run my home better. I believe he will show us better systems, he will help us notice what's no longer working, and he will give us wisdom to run our homes. Lord, these are the things that I want to accomplish for today. I'm committing my workload, my plans to you. Please establish my thoughts. Give me wisdom. Show me what matters most. Help me manage my home the way you want me to manage it. And then I trust that the Lord will give me ideas and that the Lord will guide me and lead me into better ways of running my home and how to do it in his peace, which also leads me to another point that I want to make, and that is don't be afraid to change the systems and routines in your home, because sometimes we keep doing things the same way simply because that's how we've always done them. And then we sometimes miss when our routines are not working anymore because we are stuck in our old ways or in our comfortable ways. But if something isn't working anymore, it's okay to change it. Recently, I realized that my 6-year-old was showering too late in the evening. It's something I didn't notice or think to change because it has just always been the same routine. At 7 p.m., he showers. But because it's winter, I decided one evening that he should shower earlier because of the cold. And that night, for the first time in a couple of weeks, he finally actually got to bed earlier, which made me realize this has to become the new routine. Now, I heard this wonderful pastor once said, when we pray, coincidences happen. Meaning, it could be the fact that I prayed and asked the Lord about home routines and to help me live a more peaceful life, that this coincidence happened. I don't know. I'm just saying, the Lord is in everything. And when we pray and ask, things will happen. So, change, of course, can be hard on families. My son absolutely hates it, showering earlier. But you know what? I'm the parent. I make the decisions on how my home is run, and children adapt. So don't be afraid to lovingly lead your family into a healthier rhythm. Which also brings me to another point. Order often begins with leadership. If we're frantic, our families usually feel it. But when we lead from a place of peace, that peace has a way of spreading through the entire home because peace is contagious. And again, where do we find peace? We find peace in prayer at Jesus' feet and living in surrender to him. Now, another practical thing that has helped me tremendously is balancing my work. There are certain chores I enjoy doing, like hanging the laundry, folding clothes, or even washing the dishes. I don't mind, but I really don't enjoy sweeping or mopping floors. Now, for a long time, I would do all the chores I disliked first to get it done, But by the end of the day or by the end of a couple of chores, I found myself irritated for absolutely no reason. And maybe you've experienced that too. You start cleaning and all of a sudden you're just mad. Like you just all of a sudden feel very frustrated. And I've realized that it's often because I've been doing one draining task after another without any balance. So now I will alternate between the tasks I don't like and the ones I do like or don't mind doing. It sounds incredibly simple, I know, because it is, but it makes a huge difference. It will help keep your emotions steadier throughout the day, and it will help you that you don't become overwhelmed too early or at all. So, speaking of our mental load, I also think one of the biggest reasons moms become overwhelmed is something called decision fatigue. Every single day, we're making hundreds of decisions. What's for dinner? When should we leave? What needs to be packed? What should the kids wear? Like all these small decisions eventually drains us mentally. So one thing that has helped me is making decisions ahead of time whenever I can. I usually plan our meals for the entire week. That way I'm not standing in front of the fridge at 5 o'clock every night trying to figure out what we're going to eat, because that was me and it wasn't working. It was draining. And the same principle works in so many areas of our life. When you know you have an event that is upcoming, make the decision earlier. Are you going to attend or not? Sometimes I even pre-decide what I'm going to wear tomorrow. Every decision you make ahead of time frees up mental space for the next day. And finally, I want to leave you with one thing I want you to pray about. And that is asking the Lord what you are doing that He has never asked you to do. Sometimes our homes feels chaotic because we've filled our lives with responsibilities, commitment to too many activities. Maybe you've said yes to too many things without leaving margin for yourself. Sometimes we grab for things outside our home because we are running away from the place that makes us feel overwhelmed, which is our home. And over time, this will accumulate and will end up leaving you even more overwhelmed. So we end up filling our schedules without asking the Lord if He wants us to serve there. So sometimes obedience is laying something down. Ask the Lord if there's anything He wants you to release in the season that you need to stop doing so that you can better steward what He has already given you. And as we finish today, I want you to remember this. The world says, get your life organized or in order, and then you'll have peace. But from a biblical perspective, it would be surrender to Jesus, experience the peace He gives you, and from that place, order and peace and wisdom will flow into your heart and then overflow into your home. So, if your home feels chaotic today, don't begin with the laundry basket, begin at the feet of Jesus. And before we finish, if today's episode encouraged you, would you take just a minute to leave a review for the podcast? It honestly means so much to me, and it helps another Christian wife and mom find these episodes. I love reading the reviews, and I'm truly grateful for each one. And also, don't forget to sign up for the free workshop, Moving from Overwhelmed to Peace. If today's conversation resonated with you, I truly believe that this workshop will encourage you even more and give you practical steps to start leading you from a place of peace instead of pressure. You can find the link in the show notes of this episode, or you can go to www.elevatedwife.com. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I truly hope this episode encouraged your heart and pointed you back to Jesus. If this conversation blessed you, I would love for you to share it with another wife or mom who needs this encouragement today. And if you haven't already, I'd love for you to follow the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. And then one last favor, if you don't mind, I want to ask you to leave a review because it truly helps this podcast reach more wives who are feeling overwhelmed and need this kind of encouragement. And it's also the only way for me to get to know you. So please leave that review. And remember, you don't have to carry it all. You just need to learn how to surrender it all. I'll see you in the next episode.